Tarkov is notorious for a few things. One is being horribly optimized, and two, it takes up a lot of system resources and is prone to a lot of network instability and latency issues. And that is exactly where GearUp Booster's anti-packet loss and low latency tools are gonna help. Trusted by other Escape from Tarkov creators like Leviticus and esport teams such as TSM, GearUp helps stabilize these issues, increases your connection, and allows you to focus on improving your gameplay and surviving more raids. And trust me, in this game, anything helps. GearUp's anti-packet loss feature keeps your connection stable, ensuring you have smoother gameplay, and it reduces your ping as low as 100 milliseconds for a more responsive experience. When you're going to swing somebody, you want to make sure you have the best possible chance to kill them before they kill you. And this is exactly what's going to help you. GearUp Booster makes sure when you swing that corner, your connection is stable and your bullets actually register hitting that person. If you don't want to deal with the complexities of networking yourself and ensuring that your connection is stable and smooth, GearUp Booster makes this so simple. All you got to do is press boost on the game that you want to have increased performance on and you're off to the races. GearUp Booster is also recognized by Microsoft as an editor's choice for reliability, ensuring that you have something that can help you in Tarkov slightly lower that intense learning curve in terms of having a more stable experience to master and practice your skills. Thanks so much to GearUp for sponsoring this video, and don't forget to check the link in my pinned comment and use my code EMBER for a free trial. I thought I finally escaped from Tarkov. I was fully prepared to never touch this game again until 1.0 came out after all the crappy experiences I had last wipe during the zombie event and just in general. And then they wiped for the holidays, introduced my favorite season out of all of them, and then Nikita and the dev team kindly charged into my home, dragged me out of my living room, beat the crap out of me, threw me in their car, and drove me down to ground zero, threw me into a wet cold pile of snow and said good luck. And then I had to do the same quests I've already done a million times over, and as I was doing those same quests, I proceeded to get killed by the same 10,000 hour tryhards and hackers that have killed me countless times beforehand. And as I limped my way back to my desolate hideout with Propor's favorite bottle of wine that is indistinguishable from the millions of other bottles of wine in that wine store, I looked at my broken down generator, my broken down medic station, crafting station, shooting range, and I said, I'm gonna make a new player guide for new players, especially if this is your first wipe, similar to the very first videos I have ever made on my channel months ago. And if you've been around for a while, you've probably seen those, and this is going to be similar to those, but significantly better because now I know what I'm doing a lot more than I did then. So if this is your first wipe, sit back, relax, take out a notepad, and get ready to learn some valuable insights that I wish I knew when I started, and from somebody who isn't a tryhard, because there's so many guys out there from people who don't play anything else, and I'm going to bring a different perspective, a more casual perspective to you, to hopefully let you enjoy this game instead of making it feel like it's your job, because a lot of guides make it feel like it's your job when it's not. It's a game you play to have fun. So once again, if this is your first wipe, welcome to Tarkov, and you're about to learn some very important things. Now let's get into the tips that will help you be on a really good footing to succeed in your first wipe in Tarkov. If you've done your research on Tarkov, or if you simply have just spent a lot of time around other creators like General Sam, Aqua FPS, and Landmark, you most definitely have heard the term Rat and Chad, or the Rat versus Chad debate, which rages on in countless Reddit threads, YouTube comment sections, and Twitter posts, and it will rage on forever. And these are simply varying playstyles, Rat being the stealthy and strategic approach where you avoid unnecessary combat, and that strategic portion mostly relies on hiding in dark corners, hiding in bushes, or exit camping, or simply a combination of all of those things. And Chad being the go in aggressive, go in loud, seek other players with a overwhelming amount of firepower that is obsessive, just to kind of kill them and give them no opportunity to survive. So really, you have your PvP playstyle and your non-PvP playstyle. I, however, am going to try to be a little bit bolder and introduce a third and significantly less well-known playstyle, also called the Honeybadger playstyle. It takes a classy type of individual to be a Honeybadger. You have to be adaptive. You have to kind of be flexible. Where rats are slinking around the ground, smelling for GPUs and high valuable loot, and while chads are spending 13,000 rubles every magazine or 100k every magazine, Honeybadgers are looking at their options. They're sipping wine in their hideout as it reaches max level. They're not screwing themselves over by wasting all their money, and they're not wasting time looking for things that they might find and might make money off of. Honeybadgers are Tarkov's peak optimizers. If you are sitting there completing quests, killing people, and finding loot, you are a Honeybadger, and that is a classy badge of honor to be wearing. Honeybadgers know when to run, when to fight, and they have fantastic movement capabilities. They don't latch down in a bush when things get hard, and they don't charge into unknown territory with their tier 6 armor hoping that the reflection works and you don't get shot in the armpit. Honeybadgers are strategists. They generally play smarter than any of the other playstyles in Tarkov. While other players will call getting killed by someone in a bush a rat and getting killed by someone charging them down with a spear in tier 6 armor a chad, if they see someone scurrying off in the distance, carefully watching the situation unfolding and reaching a peak position to engage or run away, they are going to call them a Honeybadger, and they are probably going to have the most respect than either a rat or a chad, because they are smart and mostly not dicks. They may even go so far as to use voice chat for teamwork and collaboration and actually trying to kind of gain your trust. They might betray you, but they didn't borderline harass you for 2 minutes before killing you. Honeybadgers are just classy like that. Now, before someone goes in the comments going, why are you categorizing playstyles? Why can't people just play how they want to play? I totally agree. This is purely subjective. These aren't real roles in the game. This is completely fan-based spawned, and it's really just how other players categorize their opponents or who killed them. So while you're going into Tarkov for the first time, just keep these 3 playstyles in mind, and you don't necessarily have to conform to one of them, but it helps you stay informed on the way people play the game, and it might help you in a combat situation when someone's playing like a chad or a rat. You can adapt accordingly. Again, that makes you a Honeybadger, baby. So just keep those in mind. But now, what are you going to be doing predominantly during your time in Tarkov? You're pretty much going to be doing one of 2 things. You're going to be PvPing or questing. Questing and PvP can both be very rewarding, but questing unlocks the game for you. There's a lot of things locked behind questing. For example, really most importantly, trader levels. The best way to get your traders up, and in some cases the only way, is to do quests. Sure, you can sell stuff to them and that increases your rep, but it's really not that impactful. Not really going to talk too much about trader rep in this video. If you're interested in that, go to like the very beginning of my channel to my first new player guide. I do a deeper dive there. This really isn't for trader rep. But questing unlocks a lot of things that you need for your hideout, unlocks more guns, it allows you to buy really good ammo. For example, Peacekeeper has a lot of fantastic ammo that later on in every wipe is required in order to kill people that are rocking high level armor. PvP is rewarding in a different way. One, it's mentally rewarding because you can kill someone who's really kitted out and you basically take that kit, or they could have something amazing in their backpack that just set you up for weeks, like Bitcoins, or GPU or LEDXs. But if you never do your quests, you're kind of stuck as if it's the beginning of the wipe and you don't have good ammo, weapons, or armor, unless you want to pay a really hefty sum for some of the things on the flea market because they're upsold on the flea market. You can buy really good ammo for like 400 rubles from a trader, or you can spend 1,000 rubles on the open flea market. My one tip for all you new players coming in is weigh the risk versus reward of all of your quests when you start. Some quests are going to ask you to go to very high risk areas like the resort, and they will provide minimal to no rewards. Other quests are going to have little to no risk at all and provide pretty decent rewards for your efforts. Other guides and other things out there are going to tell you do specific quests in this order because this is how you reach Kappa, or do these quests as fast as you can because this is how you reach a lighthouse. If your goal is to reach those things, sure, but for a new player, don't really set such a high expectation of reaching Kappa or Lighthouse Keeper because it's not really feasible unless you want to like quit your job and do Tarkov as your main source of income, which, unless you're like Landmark, you can't really do. So just weigh the risk and reward and you'll be able to find quests you can complete and navigate your way through the many quests that Tarkov has on offer. Another really big aspect of Tarkov that really isn't taught at low level play, and it's more reserved to like hours and hours of playtime in, and that is movement, and really important movement tips and strategies that I really think everybody should know out of the gate when you get into your first raid. And unlike in many other games where movement is second nature and you don't really have to think about it because it just happens, there's no consequences to what you're really doing in some situations, every footfall, every little inch of ground covered in Tarkov could literally mean the difference between life and death, from getting shot in the head from sneaking around somebody that's camping. Every terrain you step on has a different audio sound, and some are louder than others. And now that we have seasons fully implemented into the game that kind of coincide with what season is actually happening in the real world, depending on what time of year you're playing, the sound system is going to be completely different. Some things might be louder or quieter. For example, in the fall and spring, particularly in the spring, things are a lot more muddy because it's raining more, so things can be louder if you're walking on grassy terrain. But in the winter, I find that it is kind of harder to hear footsteps if you're taking your time and slow walking. But that could just be me and my crazy hearing style and the headphones that I like to use in game, which is a topic that we're not going to dive into right now because that is way too advanced. Like I said, the sound system in this game is crazy. Every headphone has a different sound profile, and it really just comes down to preference. But we're not going to talk about that here because it's going to be way too overwhelming. The first element of movement that you really should be aware about when you play, and this is more of a positioning thing because they go hand in hand with movement, and that's don't silhouette yourself against the horizon. And what does that mean exactly? It really means don't be silly. Don't stand at the edge of a cliff completely wide open and exposed, and the only thing that silhouettes your body is the clear blue sky and the sun, because you will stand out like a sore thumb. Anybody with any type of optic would be able to see you, and you are easy pickings for a lot of people. The best place that you can see this in practice is literally on Lighthouse. There is so much on Lighthouse that you can easily expose yourself and silhouette yourself to the horizon, because so much of Lighthouse is a damn cliff face. There are so many hills and opportunities to accidentally expose yourself or purposely expose yourself because that map sucks and it needs to be rebalanced, and in order to do half the quests on there you need to stand out. And there are so many sniper spots where people sit with thermals and are so hard to see because they are aware of movement and positioning, so they don't silhouette themselves, so they're nearly impossible to see unless you're right on top of them. You always want to make sure you have cover and concealment around you, otherwise you're going to be so easily spotted, you're going to think you were killed by a hacker more times than not. I always joke about how bad my eyesight is in real life, but the second that I'm playing this game or Arena Breakout, I can see a little dot move when I'm deep in the woods and I'm looking at Sawmill. It is quite crazy how you can perceive things differently under stressful situations. So don't openly expose yourself when you don't need to. Only really negate that to when you have to, like when you're running to Emercom or something, or when you have to run through Sawmill. Minimize the amount of times you're silhouetting yourself, and you're probably going to move through really congested hotspots and heavily trafficked areas without really getting shot at or hurt at all. Up next is only run when necessary to avoid making a lot of noise. As I've already mentioned, this game has an insane sound system that is incredibly detailed, and every little thing you do makes noise.
next time.
You know what's really loud? Running on concrete, running on grass, running on glass even. So you never really want to run and use your stamina and make a crazy amount of noise unless if you're in the open, you're currently in engagement, or you need to reposition. Those situations and a few others are really the only time that it's the best time to run, because one thing that Tarkov will punish you for is rushing. If you're not currently facing danger, there's no need to rush, and if you ever find yourself carrying a valuable item and you really want to run as fast as you can to the exit, don't do it. I learned a valuable lesson from a side comment on one of General Sam's videos. I don't know which one it was specifically, but he was talking about if you ever have really valuable loot, just pretend like it's the beginning of the raid again, because you're less likely to die and fumble your way into a shitty situation if you're taking your time and evaluating your options and how you move. Running is really loud. I have killed people on woods quite frequently because they're running and they're not really paying attention, and on woods, anyone can show up anywhere. So I've just died from people camping in bushes, so you want to make as little noise as possible whenever possible. So remember, only run when you have to. To kind of go alongside the don't run, always assume that there's someone nearby. You will always be on your guard and no one will catch you unawares because you were always ready for an unknown situation. There's so many times, especially on reserve, where I think I'm okay. I think I'm scotch free, and I take that one little sigh of relief and boom, you're dead. The only place you're truly safe is in the main menu and in your hideout. So if you always assume someone's around you, around the next corner, or has a vision on you, or even better, can probably hear you, you're always going to be on the defensive footing, which is not really that bad of a thing to be doing unless you're in a fight and you have the upper hand, and then in that case, take the offensive. But always try to keep in mind that you're not alone in a raid and that there's someone probably in the same landmark as you, and no one will ever catch you with your pants down looting a filing cabinet. One final tip, and this is for you solo players out there, one of my brothers in arms. We often fight teams of 2 or more, so try to prepare accordingly. Now, preparing accordingly is really limited if you're new, but always assume you're probably going to be fighting a team more than you're not. There's been a lot of PvP engagements where I've had it was more so of a duo or a squad than it's been one-on-one. You'll never see a 4 or 5 man, but you will usually see duos. Communication starts to break down above 3 players, and there's a lot of team killing, but most of the time you're coming across 2 people or 3 people. But as a solo player, you have one fantastic advantage that you should never forget, and that is mobility. You can scurry and run and move as fast as you want because you don't have to communicate your position with anybody. You can just make the decisions on the fly. No one's waiting on you, so you can reposition as fast as you want and get behind people before they even know what's going on, or change rooms so they're not expecting you and blow them away. The one advantage that really can trump teams is the mobility. Squads are going to have coverage options and more eyes, but you have the best mobility possible. Use that to your advantage and you're probably going to win more fights than you do lose. Continuing that idea is use sound to your advantage. If you're minding your own business, walking around on, say, shoreline, and you hear some footsteps, stop moving and tune those ears in and listen. Rats listen, chads rush, honeybadgers are a mix of both. So in this situation, you sit down and you listen. See if there's more than one set of feet. If there's more than one, you have valuable intel. You're probably fighting a team, or maybe they're just scavs walking around, but either way, if you're away from landmarks and common scav spawns and you hear movement, stop what you're doing and listen and make sure you're not too visible, because that intel could save your life. A lot of times teams might miss you and pass by you, and that might have saved your raid. So remember, when you're solo, you're probably going to be facing teams, and use that mobility to your advantage as well as using those ears. Before you scuttle your way out of your hideout and make your way to ground zero, there's a few more things that I want to bestow upon you. And these are things to really get used to, because it should hopefully avoid a lot of aggravation, because there's a lot of things that you cannot control, and there's a lot of things that you should know as a new player going into this game. And if you're thinking about purchasing Tarkov, this is really important to know before you spend the money. One thing that you're just going to have to get used to, because it's going to happen daily, is getting killed by very experienced players. If you're a veteran of the channel and of my Twitch streams, you have definitely heard me complain about the absolute lack of matchmaking and player skill balance in this game. Tarkov has been around for a very long time, meaning it has accumulated a very loyal and very veteran status player base. These players know everything about the game. They know where everything is, they know where things spawn, where you'll spawn, when things will spawn, and more. They know what to use to kill you in one bullet, they know where to aim, they know basically pixel perfect accuracy of where your hitboxes are. They will dominate, and they will continue to dominate, and they are dominating. This is why the whole argument of Tarkov is dying, because the PvE has come around. Nobody wants to deal with these people. The first few weeks of the wipe are great because everybody's playing, and then this player base splits 50-50 down the middle to PvP and PvE because it feels like crap to get killed by these people with 5k plus hours, but there's literally nothing you can do about it. You couldn't have done anything besides get a lucky headshot. They are just more experienced, and the only thing that you can do is try to learn from the combat situation and see how you could have done better. That's really the only way to deal with this, because most people that kill you are going to be these players. And a little Ember pro tip that is fresh off the press: I made the promise to myself this wipe to never look at player stats again because I get really aggravated when I see someone with the crazy amount of playtime. I've stopped looking at player stats and I've been enjoying myself a lot better, so I highly recommend that. It's really good for the mental game. You might as well not even know how much they played. It makes you feel a little bit better getting wrecked over and over again by these people. The other things that you should get used to jumping into Tarkov is dealing with cheaters, getting caught by campers, and making a crap ton of mistakes and learning from them. It is undeniable that Tarkov is a very exploited game. You can look anywhere to see video essays talking about the cheating situation. There are a lot of cheaters, and you will get killed by them. Again, there is literally nothing that you can do to prevent this. It's just something that you're going to have to get used to and swallow that pill, as much as it sucks. I wish the anti-cheat worked better, and I wished there was more preventative measures in place to stem the tide of hackers. But unfortunately, this is just one of the things that you're going to have to get used to as a new Tarkov player. Continuing on that, there's another really annoying aspect that you're going to have to get used to, and that is getting caught out by exit campers, or just campers in general, particularly exit campers. If you're new to the genre, this is something that is very hard to regulate or to prevent. It is just a strategy that remains relevant to this day, but thankfully over the last year or so it has become less and less used as it's been less and less rewarding. But every time you make your way out of the raid, you have to go to a predetermined exit that a lot of people will share, and a lot of people know them and will sit by them and wait for you to kill you and take your stuff, so you waste like 30 minutes. It's one of the most annoying playstyles in the game, but again, you can combat this by using the tips that I talked about before with movement and noise and just listening and paying attention to really kind of minimize the amount of times you'll be exit camped. I've only been killed by exit campers 1 or 2 times in the last year or 2 alone, but then again, I'm not putting thousands of hours on this game, so your experience may differ if you get really into it and put hundreds of hours every month onto the game. But just keep that in mind: when you make your way to the exit, you might bump into exit campers. And finally, get ready to make a crap ton of mistakes and getting better and learning from those mistakes. I cannot tell you the amount of times I went into raid with the wrong ammo for my gun, or without armor, or silly things like that, or just making a bad movement decision and dying, or playing a fight poorly. Literally, the first system message that you get when you make your character is that you're probably gonna die, and die a lot, and you have a chance to learn from each death. So just be ready to kind of be really bad for a while, as mean as that sounds. I always use the little analogy that you're either really good at Tarkov, you're a cheater, or you're really bad. Unfortunately, there really is no middle ground in skill level for this game, and fully understanding that and going into it knowing that you're probably gonna get wrecked for a long time will make the learning experience a lot easier, because this game is the hardest learning curve I've ever experienced. It really feels like Dark Souls with guns, so you just have to keep that in mind when you're starting out for the first time. I want to drop one more knowledge bomb on you before we close out the video, and that is the fact that ammo is a lot better than a cool looking gun. Alright, we all love to roleplay and to LARP as military personnel. That is why we play this game, because the guns look cool. It is adult Legos. But the cool looking gun won't serve you well if what you're shooting at it is basically peas that can't penetrate anything because you spent 500k on attachments to make the gun look cool. They have a little canted grip on your rail, and you have a little side mounted scope and a thermal. That won't help you if you can't kill a scav with a P.A.C.A on. Ammo is significantly more important than how cool the gun looks. I would take an AK with PSGS or something better in that over a kitted out SAS spec MP5 with US ammo in it any day of the week. And then I know when I kill that dude that's absolutely chatted out on attachments but is shooting like 9x18 Makarov rounds at me, is going to be really mad that I cut through his armor with insane ammo with a gun that really looks like a scav can be shooting in. Matter of fact, it's really funny when you get killed by scavs and you can see the ammo that they have a chance to spawn with, because they can be running stupid guns with insane ammo. So always remember, cool guns are nice, but what you're putting downfield onto your target is more important. You want to make sure you're penetrating that armor so you have a better survivability chance. With all of that in mind, I wish you tons of successful raids, and I hope you learn a lot while playing the game, and I hope you stick with the game, because the hardest part of Tarkov ultimately is actually kind of staying with it, because it is very discouraging when you get into those downward slopes of constantly losing and you really feel like you're not learning anything. So always remember, focus on learning, stay patient through the challenges, and embrace the grind. Every wipe is a chance to get better, and you will see improvement if you stay consistent. And with everything that you're learning, Gear Up can give you an edge by tackling the network issues you might be experiencing and help you focus on your game, which is very important as you're starting off in your first wipe in Tarkov. Once again, make sure to check out the pinned comment in the description below and use my code EMBER to get a free trial. Also, thank you so much for all the love and support this year. This is the very first video that I've made since reaching the YouTube partner status. What does that mean for you? Well, most importantly, we now have access to the amazing YouTube partner tools such as super chats and memberships. And if you really like my content and want to directly support what I do to help me do more of it, you can choose a membership role, which give you access to really cool perks like member-only shorts, member-only videos, video voting polls to determine what the next video will be, and so on. So again, if you really like this content, feel free to check those out. But no matter what, I always love and appreciate all of the comments, all of the likes, and all of the feedback I receive. I legitimately read and respond to pretty much all of my comments. So if you have any feedback, feel free to throw it in there and I'm sure I'll see it. Again, thank you so much for watching, and to all of you new players out there that are stepping into this wipe for the very first time, good luck, keep your head on your shoulders, stay calm, remember the tips we talked about here today, and you will do great.